Have you ever sensed something unsettling about someone, like an invisible weight in the air? A subtle feeling of unease, as if their presence drains the energy from the room. You can't quite explain it, but deep down you know something is wrong. Evil doesn't always arrive with a snarl or in the form of a villain. It rarely announces itself. Instead, it often wears a smile, speaks with charm, and appears helpful at first. These people don't need a reason to harm you. They do it because it's in their nature. They manipulate, deceive, and control not through force, but by gradually eroding your confidence, peace, and even your perception of reality. In Stoicism, we are taught to guard our minds and spirits, recognizing what is within our control. One of the most important skills in life is learning to identify those who mean us harm before they get too close. Evil is rarely obvious until it's too late. However, the good news is that evil leaves clues. There are clear warning signs, red flags, that, if you pay attention, will reveal the truth about a person's character. Recognizing these signs can protect not just your peace, but your very sense of self. In this video, I'll guide you through 6 powerful red flags that expose toxic and manipulative individuals. Learn these and you won't just avoid pain, you'll reclaim your strength. Before we dive in, if you're ready to protect your peace and elevate your mindset, consider subscribing. Now let's get into it. Red flag number 1. They constantly lie or manipulate the truth. Truth is the foundation of trust, and without it, relationships crumble. Yet, a truly malicious person has no regard for truth, not because they need to lie, but because they want to. For them, deception isn't just a tool. It's a way of life. They lie to manipulate, control, and keep you in a state of uncertainty, making you question what is real and what is not. At first, their lies may seem harmless. Small exaggerations here, slight distortions there. But over time, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. One day, they confidently tell you something, only to deny it later. If you confront them, they act offended, accusing you of misremembering or being too sensitive. Slowly, doubt creeps in. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I'm overthinking. That's the trap. A skilled liar doesn't just deceive, they reshape reality. They gaslight, twisting events until you start second-guessing your own memory, instincts, and even your sanity. This confusion is deliberate because a confused mind is easier to control. Think of the times they could have told the truth but didn't, even when honesty cost them nothing. Why? Because for them, lying isn't just about avoiding trouble, it's about power. They fabricate stories and twist facts, not out of necessity, but because they can. Most disturbingly, they never feel guilty. A Stoic understands that clarity of mind is essential for a life of virtue. If someone in your life constantly manipulates the truth, they are not just dishonest, they are dangerous. Every interaction with them becomes a mental battlefield where you're left drained and unsure of what's real. If you find yourself constantly questioning your own perception around them, take a step back and trust your instincts. An evil person will never hand you the truth. It's up to you to see it for yourself. Red flag number 2. They love conflict. A sure sign you're dealing with a person of malicious intent is their love for conflict. While most people strive for harmony, these individuals thrive on chaos. Like moths drawn to a flame, they sow seeds of disharmony, quietly orchestrating the drama around them as if it were a grand production. In Stoic philosophy, we are taught that while external events, such as conflict, are often beyond our control, our response remains within our power. But conflict-loving personalities aim to dismantle this inner peace. They feed on tension and chaos, nurturing misunderstandings and creating discord for their own amusement. Sometimes they need no real motive, causing chaos is reason enough. Their tactics are often subtle. They plant doubts about others or stir up old resentments, all while feigning innocence. But in reality, they are the architects of strife. When tension arises in a group, you might catch a flicker of satisfaction on their face, a hint that they enjoy the confusion and conflict they've caused. In family gatherings or social settings, they might drop a precisely timed remark that provokes tension between others. Moments later, the once harmonious atmosphere is tainted by unease. They fade into the background, watching as their carefully planned disruption takes effect. A Stoic mindset teaches us to guard our peace and remain unshaken by external turmoil. But these individuals don't just cause trouble, they revel in it. They have no empathy, seeing relationships as a stage for their own manipulative games. If someone in your life constantly steers conversations toward confrontation or manipulates situations to create conflict, this is a clear warning sign. Protect your mental well-being and set firm boundaries with these toxic individuals. Red flag number 3. They make you feel like you're always at fault. A mind in doubt is easy to control, and manipulative people know this all too well. One of the most insidious forms of manipulation is gaslighting. They don't need threats or force to control you, just a steady erosion of your confidence. They make you question your own reality until you start relying on them to tell you what's true. At first, it's subtle. You express frustration, and they tell you you're overreacting. You recall an event differently, and they insist it never happened. Over time, you begin to second-guess yourself, thinking, am I being too emotional? Maybe the problem isn't them, but me. That's exactly what they want you to believe. A person who truly cares about you will listen, even if they disagree. But an evil person doesn't care about your feelings. They care about control. By learning to recognize these red flags, you can protect your peace, avoid toxic individuals, and regain control over your life. They thrive on control. Their primary goal is to leave you feeling unstable, uncertain, and ultimately dependent on their approval. The more self-doubt you harbor, the more influence they gain. Picture this. You find yourself in a disagreement, confident in your memory and understanding, but they insist you're wrong. They distort facts, manipulate details, and make you question your recollection, leaving you to feel foolish for even bringing it up. Before you know it, you're no longer defending your argument but rather your sanity. Stoicism teaches us to rely on reason, to perceive things as they are, and to hold firm in what we know is true. But gaslighting is designed to lead you away from that truth, causing you to doubt your own judgment. Once you start seeking their validation for things you already know, you've surrendered control of your mind. If someone frequently makes you feel like you're always at fault, if they dismiss your emotions and warp reality, take it as a red flag. You owe no loyalty to someone who manipulates your sense of self. Trust your perception, stand your ground, and remember, you are not crazy, nor are you overreacting, and you certainly don't need their permission to trust your reality. Red flag number 4. They play the victim in every situation. Life is full of challenges, and hardship spares no one. A resilient person faces difficulties head-on and takes responsibility for their actions. But a toxic individual? They cloak themselves in victimhood, using it both as a shield from accountability and a weapon against others. In their eyes, nothing is ever their fault. They'll blame the world, their past, or the people around them, anyone but themselves. When things go wrong, they don't reflect or grow. They shift blame and expect you to sympathize with their never-ending plight. At first, their self-pity might seem harmless. But over time, you'll notice the pattern. Their problems never improve, no matter how much you help. Their misfortunes are exaggerated, and their suffering always seems greater than anyone else's. They emotionally drain you, using your empathy to tether you to their endless cycle of misery. If you try to hold them accountable or set boundaries, they turn the tables, making you out to be the villain. Suddenly, your reasonable requests become attacks, and their refusal to change becomes your fault. This isn't just manipulation, it's control. The Stoics remind us that while external events are beyond our control, our response is always within our power. A person who never takes responsibility for their actions is dangerous because they will always find a way to transfer their burden onto you. Ask yourself, are you constantly making excuses for them? Do you feel guilty for setting boundaries? Have you realized that they don't actually want solutions, only sympathy? So it's time to step back. You are not responsible for fixing someone who refuses to help themselves. Relationships built on guilt and manipulation are not worth your emotional well-being. Red flag number 5. Constant criticism, never acknowledging your successes. There's a particular type of poison that doesn't kill you outright but slowly erodes your self-worth over time. Constant, unrelenting criticism. It doesn't manifest as outright attacks, but rather subtle, carefully placed remarks that always highlight what you lack, never what you've achieved. A toxic person rarely celebrates your victories, no matter how hard you work or what you accomplish. If you succeed, they downplay it. If you improve, they shift the goalposts. And if you feel proud, they remind you of everything you could have done better. Imagine spending weeks working on a project, pouring your energy into it, and finally achieving your goal. You eagerly share your success with someone close to you, only to be met with a dismissive shrug or a cold, "Well, you could have done better." Worse, they might compare your achievement to their own, ensuring you know they've always done more, done better, and always will. This isn't constructive criticism. It's deliberate erosion. A Stoic understands that external validation is fleeting, but even the strongest person can be worn down by relentless negativity. Toxic individuals know this. They don't want to see you grow. They want to see you doubt yourself. Their aim is to plant seeds of insecurity until you begin to trust their judgment more than your own. Meanwhile, while they diminish your successes, they elevate their own. They boast about their achievements, skills, and superiority, positioning themselves above you. It's not just about belittling you, it's about inflating their own sense of power. But remember this, their words do not define you. Stoicism teaches us to measure ourselves by our own progress and principles, not by the opinions of those who seek to undermine us. If someone consistently criticizes but never lifts you up, ask yourself, what do they gain from this, and what are you losing by keeping them in your life? Red flag number 6. Lack of empathy or compassion. Empathy is what binds people together. The ability to share in another's joy, to feel another's pain, to recognize the humanity in those around us. But a toxic person feels nothing. Their indifference is chilling. You could be suffering under the weight of grief, and they would stand there unmoved. If they acknowledge your pain at all, it's with cold detachment, saying things like, "Life's unfair." Worse, they might turn the conversation back to themselves, as if your emotions are an inconvenience. Imagine facing a deep personal loss, like the death of a loved one, and turning to them for comfort. Instead of understanding, you're met with a blank stare, a shrug, or a dismissive comment like, "It happens to everyone." In that moment, their lack of humanity is undeniable. The Stoics teach us to temper our emotions and remain resilient, but they never advocate for coldness. True strength lies in compassion and wisdom, not apathy. Toxic individuals mistake their indifference for power. To them, people are tools, things to be used, discarded, or ignored when no longer useful. Their emotional emptiness is suffocating, making you feel invisible and isolated, which is exactly how they want you to feel. But here's the truth. You are not small, and you are not invisible. If someone repeatedly dismisses your emotions, refuses to acknowledge your struggles, or treats you as insignificant, believe what they're showing you. A person without empathy is not merely emotionally distant. They are dangerous.